Om Shanti. So, welcome all of you to the Values Workshop series. And today we are on workshop 58 on Divinity. So, as always, before we begin, let's take a moment to reflect on this virtue of divinity. Let me ask myself this question. Am I really divine in my behavior and dealings with people? I am my best judge because I know how I am dealing with people. So let me, from today's workshop, try to explore this virtue in a bit of detail and understand what is real divinity, what is it like to imbibe divinity in my behavior. Because as a soul, my original nature is divine. And let's, for around next 15 or 20 seconds, create this powerful thought of invoking the divine, the supreme being. So thank you all of you for joining on time. So let's begin. So this time we have with us our two facilitators. We have Sister Anu joining from the West Coast, Vancouver, Canada. And we have with us Sister Preeti Madan joining from the national capital of India, Delhi. So welcome both of you. And as all of you know, we have been doing these since 2020 now, and it's been a long time. Let me just highlight these silver episode and the silver workshop which we had done on far-sightedness and the golden one on surrender. And soon we'll be celebrating, why I'm showing you all this is soon we'll be celebrating the 60th episode and 60th workshop. So stay with your breath awaited. It will be what we call the 60th Diamond Jubilee. So Diamond episode, it will be soon announced later in the announcements. So let me today start with the ice-breaking video. It's a very brief video. I would request people to just concentrate on this because it's not 2-3 minutes. It's just 40 seconds video. And it's self-explanatory. As you can see, the title is mentioned. Let's clean our mind. We know what sort of things are there in our mind. I am not being pessimistic when I say junk, but sometimes we have that a lot as well. So let me just share another screen. I'll just play this video for you. Again, just watch it closely, see what it has to tell you, and then you can share your insights. We'll have more time for insights today because this video clip is just 40 seconds. I'll just stop sharing and make a new sharing again.
Music is going on, maybe you have to stop it. So
yeah, it will. Oh, this should work. No, okay. Sorry, I just have to open in another screen here. Sorry, bear with me for a minute. Too many things open on the screen can really make you very undivine. Just a minute, yeah. Sharing screen. So as you can see, I'll just magnify this for you all. I'll start the music now and just please observe this carefully and then we'll take your sharings. Right. So I know it's a very brief one, and you'd be wondering, what is this? So anyway, so we have a lot of time to chat with each other. Next 4 or 5 minutes we can spend on this. What insights have you gained from this video and from the workshop? What is your expectation? You can write in the chat box, or if you all want to share in the personally also, it's fine. Again, perfect silence, perfect divinity. Somehow I feel nowadays you all are not responding for icebreakers. We should actually stop using them instead. Okay. Yeah, so someone has written, okay, it's the same thing. Mhm. Yes, anyone, should I start picking on you all, which I don't want to do? Yeah, so you'll have to translate. Something is there in the chat box. I think it's Brazilian, Portuguese. Yeah, Brijpal Bhai is saying run fast and to the supreme. Okay, interesting. Mhm. Experimenting with something, is it the Portuguese one? Concentration and experimenting with something about divinity. Yeah, okay. Right. Mind to be clear. Thank you, Vijay Bhai, for setting the ball to roll about this. Mind to be clear of waste thoughts, and purity brings in purity in thoughts, words, actions, karma, behavior. Right. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Manuel Bhai. So the Portuguese translation says that the one which was written in Portuguese, by focusing on myself, I exercise lightness, and also it helps me invoke my divinity. Great. Sister Guldani is saying first we have to clean our mind from the spoiled thoughts, right? So rather than junk, the word boy, spoiled thought is quite decent to say. Okay, good. So I think you all know about this video. It's nothing very difficult. So with this, I think we'll go to the first exercise and I'll pass it on to Sister Anne. Thank you all for your sharings. Thanks. Over to you.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Manoj Bhai. So beautiful sharing. So the beginning, the starting of having a divine or bringing divinity to life is being free from, yeah, I also like the spoiled thoughts, waste. We have to know what are the spoiled and waste thoughts. And I like the cycle. So yes, raised to where? To divinity, to that pure, elevated thoughts and energies or the supreme. So the first, let's put it, first exercise, beautiful, that we will reflect on what is the prerequisite or requisites for invoking divinity. We all love to, feel attracted to deity images or, our religious founders or, Buddha, the meditators. We love that. That is the spark of divinity. That's what attracts us towards them. So to make it easy, we have put few images here, but whichever images that you connect with, you can just think of that, visualize the divine image just for a few seconds and look at or think about that image for a few seconds. If we can just really give, to visualize, to see, to think about the divine image that we connect to. What are the feelings that comes to your heart and mind? What is that you are seeing in them, getting from them? And our reflection is to think that in order to invoke that divinity within me, what I have to do, what can I do? What is missing? Can I have it in me? all have the divinity within us. That's what we will look at to invoke today. I'm sure by end of the session we take it with us. So I'll play some music just for 1 minute. Let's visualize a divine image that we connect to and see what is that in them that I can invoke within me. What is that I have to do for? So I'm sure you got that feeling, the reflections, the clarity. And now we would love to hear from you. So that's how we share, we inspire each other. And you want to start, Silan brother?
Yes, I get a feeling from the images of deep introversion and purity. So I get from you.
We have to imbibe or bring in us to have that divinity in us. Thank you. Thank you so much. Anyone else?
Yeah, shall I share?
Yes, Dr. Mehta, please.
Okay. Three images of Jesus, the Buddha, and Lakshmi Narayan. They all signify very important divine values. Jesus, the merciful, mercy. The Buddha is Kshama or pardon. And Lakshmi Narayan is a purity. I could be merciful and pardon anyone's mistakes through purity of Lakshmi Narayan.
Wow, such beautiful thoughts. Yeah, we can pardon or forgive, be merciful to anything of any of others' behaviors. And that's the divinity of Lakshmi Narayan, particularly as we feel from their image. Thank you so much for the beautiful sharing. Yes, Lata, you want to share?
Yes, sister. Sister, all the three images I could see, the common thing was that they had the white circle around. I could connect to Lakshmi Narayan the most, and I could see that divinities, what they are reflecting out, what they are giving.
Mm-hmm.
So, like vibrations or what feeling we get when we look at them. So, it's like a divinity is like our vibrations. I could
So,
see.
kind of peace, the comfort, the joy
Yeah.
we feel. So, what is that white aura we call?
Aura vibrations, yeah.
Vibrations of purity of that divinity, the elevated vibration. Beautiful. Thank you, Lata.
Thank you.
Om Shanti. Sister, I experience be wise, be loving, like we expect from our Supreme Father, our guardian, and we do with our parents. We should experience in our practicing for all these souls around and in the world. Om Shanti.
Is that you said, sister? Viceless?
Wise and loving, like we wish this from our Supreme Father, our guardian, and we practice this with our children. We should do Same with all these souls in the world, in our surrounding and everywhere.
Nice, beautiful, yes. Loving.
Om Shanti Didi ji.
Yes, Vijay Bhai. Om Shanti.
All my dear brothers and sisters, please accept greetings of love, peace, and happiness. When we see Lakshmi Narayan ji, the aura, the happiness, their drishti, their face gives us natural purity in us, naturally love in us, naturally kindness in us, because they have achieved this divinity because of purity and following 4 subjects of real service: Gyan, Seva, Dharna, and Yoga. So they have got the pralabdha now. They worked hard, and this is the pralabdha of their pursharth.
Right.
So Asha Didi told us, Pavan word remember, which comes in Lakshmi Narayan as a divinity. We know the difference, spirituality, purity, and divinity, but Lakshmi Narayan are natural divine. Om Shanti.
Thank you so much. Beautiful. Some spiritual knowledge integrated into it. But yeah, the purity and that effort we have to do now. So what is that I have to do is to bring purity. And I think throughout the session today, we will also understand more. What is the purity? Purity in the thoughts, words, and actions. That is benevolent to all. I think that's why we go and pray to the divine idols, and we feel that benevolence, your love coming from them. Thank you so much, Vijay Bhai. Beautiful sharing. Kavita in the chat says complete purity, right? Complete purity. So that's again something to think about, that complete is important, not that 1 or 2 times I can be impure in my thoughts or words. Deepak Bhai says detached and loving. Detached in the sense emotionally, not influenced, but loving, that's me. My nature of divinity is loving. So that should flow always. If I'm not detached from the emotion of situations, I cannot be loving. Beautiful, Deepak. And in Portuguese, we have something, and Manuel Bhai has translated: create an unshakable faith that I, the original being, is divine, with the attributes and qualities of a deity. So unshakable faith in that. That's humanity, that's divinity. We always want to do good. We always want to be loved and love others. Then Maria says practicing purity and other qualities of a goodhood, godhood. Purity and other qualities of a god. That's interesting. Brotherhood, godhood means God's qualities. If we can bring it to life, that's where the world will become heaven. Andy says truth and purity. Truth and purity. Very deep words, right? Again, Dr. Khyati says, every time I connect with the divine, it helps me see the truth that I am not a human being having spiritual experience, but it reminds me that I am a spiritual being having a human experience. So we have that human and being part. So being is that spiritual qualities that we express. So many in the chat, somebody can also speak, but let me read as well. Anyone will take maybe 1 or 2 more sharings verbally. You can unmute and speak. Then Gulden says, getting peace, love, happiness, light, etc. That shows to us the truth. And that's what we need to bring in us, isn't it? Dr. Manoj says, prerequisite to invoke divinity, constant awareness of my original, eternal, incorporeal form. The awareness is important. The moment I forget, I become just a human being who's flowing with the emotion of the situation. So constant awareness of my original, eternal, incorporeal form. Right, okay. So Sorry, I think I was fast for translators a bit. Anyone else would like to share? Maybe just one more sharing, and then we'll move on to see how to invoke these qualities within us, right? Yes, Balvinder, you want to share?
Om Shanti Ji, and good morning, everyone. I was able to make a connection with all three pictures.
We are able to hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was able to make connection with all three pictures. I was able to see so much vibrant vibrations, energy circle. But when I compare, yes, I'm not at that level. I can become like that. And you are doing it. You're doing it to reach. This is the destination. So we need to put intense effort to become like that. And you, all speakers, are already have become. You have already become embodiment of all three pictures. I can see that. And you're trying to help us to make exact same room. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, I think we all have to still make effort, and you said it right, the destination is there. So keep our eyes there and keep moving, making effort. Thank you, Balvinder. Yes, Silan, brother, you want to say something, add something? Yes.
Yeah, I would like to, looking at those pictures, they all have something in common. The eyes, they're subtle and soft, and immediately when you look into their eyes, the lightness fills you, feeling of contentment, and then there's a feeling that you are radiating this immediately, as you're taking. It's not only taking, you feel like, you feel the divinity immediately when you look into the eyes, and then you radiate it. Yeah, so, and also looking at Lakshmi and constant, the hands giving blessing, it reminds you that as a deity in the making, you have to be bestowing all the time as well.
It's very nice you brought that attention, that we get filled up and it radiates out of us and from the eyes. Thank you so much. We'll just take the last one because Isabella, yeah, you wanted to share. Please go ahead, unmute and speak. You have raised hand. I don't know if you can speak. Okay, no worries. Okay, so let's move on. Beautiful, beautiful. Our hearts are full, I'm sure, right now. So we have Deepak Bhai, who is taking the sharings, writing on the PowerPoint. Can you show us that? Yeah, so many sharings, beautiful, that came out from our heart, right? So purity, the silence, connecting with the Supreme, detached and loving, deep introversion, again, complete purity. Jesus symbolizes forgiveness, Lakshmi Narayan symbolizes purity, truth and purity. So purity, the aura somebody spoke about, aura of divinity, as we say, light and love, and then thoughts, purity in thoughts, words, and actions, benevolent to all souls. And the effort is to be there to become the embodiment. And the last one, Pathama said that how it spreads out of us when we look at the divine images. So when you connect with the divine, it helps me to see the truth that I am a human being, a spiritual being having a human experience. Very nice, beautiful. I think we will share all this anyways in the review material. So let's move on to feel it, continue our experiences. So I'll hand it over to Brother Manoj. Thank you, everyone.
So thank you all of you all for your sharings. And now please let those sharings, whatever we have shared on the screen, be there in your awareness for a while, for the next 5 minutes or so. And let us try to go into this experiential mode, the meditation on invoking this divinity. So I hope the music is also audible. And let's sit back, relax, Take a deep breath in and out. And the purpose today of this meditation exercise is to help me go within and see my divinity, which for a while I have actually forgotten. And hence I need to reignite and re-invoke the same. So let's start. Visualize yourself as this tiny, conscient being of light. The beautiful, sparkling energy that you are, which is so eternal and imperishable. And what an aha feeling it creates when I realize my true existence to be eternal and immortal. And this really re-emphasizes my existence on the earth. Let me ask myself this question. Why am I here in this body? What is the purpose of my existence? Is it just to experience the routine, mundane of the daily chores? Or there is something higher than that? Is there a divine purpose for my existence? And I'm sure we get the answer as yes. So realizing my true inner potential, let me now connect to that divinity within me. Remind myself that I am the son of the Supreme Being, the child of the Supreme Being. And I am equally divine as Godfather is. And this meditation is basically to help us go into the action planning mode, which will be the next exercise. So let me just stop sharing the screen and I hand it over to Preeti. Okay. Yeah, so Sister Preeti, over to you, and I think I'll share the screen so that you'll find it easy. That's right. Or you want to share yourself?
Thank
I've
you.
shared. You're okay?
Yeah.
I'm sharing it.
Fine.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, welcome you all in this workshop. And you've already experienced the ice-breaking session and the meditation session. In this meditation session, we had experienced the divinity within. We connected to our source. So, this planning exercise, action planning exercise, we will reflect into what divine behaviors can I inculcate in myself in the coming week. So that will be the practical action plan. Like we make a vision for ourselves that we'll be doing this, we'll be becoming like that, but concrete action plan to become like that, what I have to do in this coming week, that we have to reflect. So we'll take 1 or 2 minutes to think about this, and then we'll take the sharing what divine behavior would you like to encourage? So we have already received one sharing from Dr. Ashok Mehta. He said, be merciful and kind to everyone. Anyone else who would like to share something? Would like the translation from Portuguese. You can also unmute yourself and speak if you want to. This says happiness, be the embodiment of happiness. So our face should reflect the happiness. Whosoever comes in our contact, they should see our happy face. And it is stability. Yes, definitely. Anyone else who would like to share?
Om Shanti Didi ji.
Om Shanti.
Please accept my greetings of love, peace, and happiness, my dear brothers and sisters. Not only from next week, from this moment, we will feel that we are shining stars. We all are brothers. So we should have a love and cooperation. We should give each other a courage and himmat and bal. We should also feel that we belong to one family, and we should also feel and give vibrations of love, peace, happiness, whosoever comes in contact with us. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Anyone else who would like to share something?
Om Shanti, to have the awareness and vision of love, complete love for everyone.
Yeah.
Brijpal bhai, you can unmute and speak.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
the most important thing is that I should know that I am a soul. And in soul consciousness in absolute silence, with utter humility, with constant remembrance, I must connect with the Supreme and attain powers from Him. The powers are called the power of intellect. And once you attain that power of intellect, it is a blessing. In the blessing, you have to do nothing. Things become so natural. And what amazing the power of intellect is that what is not divine can be changed into something divine with the power of divine intellect and the power of transformation, which will keep you happy, keep you truthful, keep you pure, and this fragrance you can spread to the humanity. Om Shanti.
Dr. Swati says, be Baba's child and accept the challenges. So we have to be in constant remembrance that we are Baba's child, God's child. Anyone else who would like to share?
Yes, Om Shanti. I think that when we have the value of giving, like when we have the value of giving to people around us rather than always expecting, giving them unconditionally. So I believe whether it is love or peace, or maybe if we can help them with whatever they need, then I think it is a divine way of inculcating divinity.
Sister,
Thank
this is
you.
unconditionally. Nirmala says, forgive and give love. Anyone else? Anybody? So I would share my action plan for this coming week. I feel before that, I would request Balwinder's sister. She has raised her hand. Would you like to share something? You can unmute yourself and speak.
Yeah, Om
Balwinder.
Shanti, everyone again. For me, I found your class last year. Since then, I'm highly committed to attend on a regular basis. But if due to family circumstances, I'm not able to attend, I get so disappointed within me and with my family. So I will practice acceptance. It's okay. It's okay. So I don't have that. So I will teach my mind, my lovely mind, my darling. We will, we will attend recorded class. Why you're getting upset and making other people upset, right? I need to practice that, and I'm not doing it. Thank you.
Very, very practical. Thanks.
Yeah, I think Sister Vijay, I don't know, I can't see her now. He or she was raising hands. Well, anyway, go ahead. Sorry, Preeti Bhaiya.
Seelan, sister, and Atma, Vancouver have also raised the hand. You can unmute yourself and speak.
And having invoked all the qualities of a deity, I feel that in every situation and you have to radiate these qualities, an attitude of mercy and benevolence to prevail in for the next week or so. I really deeply practice that.
Thank you. Subhas Sinha, brother, said, combined with Baba and do your job. Correct. Anyone else who would like to share?
So Meenu Verma is raising. And actually, just before you all say, all of y'all, so you all are speaking about the process as well of how to invoke, but we want some practical tips which you all have already given. Like it started with Dr. Mehta being merciful and giving, and you all also have said, so just tell us some practical aspects. So we'll go ahead with Sister Meenu. Please go ahead and unmute. Yeah.
Yeah, I will practice on this week. I will replace my anger and expectation with forgiveness and care. Om Shanti.
Yeah, forgiveness. Andy also said donate virtue. So we have to exhibit virtue in our actions, and that is how we will be able to donate it to others. So we would like one or two more sharing regarding the practical steps, like what would we do practically in our actions, in our behavior in this week. Sister Vijay said, godliness, paying attention to exercise godly qualities constantly. So we have to be more conscious, like consciousness while we act, so that we pay attention that we are exhibiting, we are using those godly qualities. Anyone else?
If there is a situation, try to understand the situation and proceed there.
When you understand, definitely you are more accommodating and more accepting.
Exactly, exactly. Acceptance. Okay.
Anyone else?
So maybe we are just approaching the end of the so we'll just take the sharings from Deepak Bhai, Preeti sister. Yeah.
So we have come up with so many beautiful actions. The divine behaviors first was be merciful and kind to everyone, be sweet and understanding, be the embodiment of happiness, stability. Without stability, obviously, we'll be coming into different reactions. So stability help us in having the constant behavior. From this moment, feel we are shining stars of light and give cooperation vibrations to whoever comes in contact, spreading vibrations of love, not arguing with those people who do not understand us, correct? Being in soul conscious stage and attaining blessings or powers by connecting with Supreme Almighty. Be Godfather's child and accept the challenges, forgive and give love, loving happiness, be merciful, donate virtues. So if we summarize, it shows we have to be practicing acceptance combined with the Supreme Father and do your job. Get rid of anger by acceptance and being merciful, virtues in action, godliness, paying attention to exercise godly qualities, understanding situation and being more accommodative. So if we summarize into this, then acceptance, understanding, merciful, kind, happy, smiling, these are the ones which will help us be expressive of divinity. So thank you all. With this, we close this session and we'll move forward to our next session, which we are looking forward to. Dr. Claudia also shares something. If you are new, that's for everyone, they can read. So I'll hand over for next session.
So thank you so much, Sister Preeti. And I think if you can tell us 15 seconds, you were saying your action planning for the next week. Quickly.
Yeah, so my action plan, I was thinking I would practice to see others as Baba, as God, as our source sees anyone's, like any soul. So more of in their original divine form, so that our behavior towards that soul is actual the one which Baba would behave. So this I have to remind myself constantly.
Fine, thank you. So being Master God and visualizing the God in everyone, great. Okay, so thank you all for your sharings. So we have already with us Sister Radha, who's been looking at us patiently, listening to what we are saying, so that she can guide us more after 15 minutes from now. Yeah, thank you, Sister Radha. Thank you for being there. And let me just share my screen. And so we'll go further. And before we go further, let me just also remind you, as the message was there, if someone is new to the program here and wants to be a part of the workshops and the episodes, please feel free to write down your phone numbers and your emails as well, so we can send you all the materials which we are discussing so much. Right. So as all of us had attended the talk, hope so all of you did attend. Asha Didi, who's an embodiment of divinity herself. And I'll just share what she had said. It was the entire talk, I mean, almost 35-40 minutes was on spirituality versus divinity. So I'll just go briefly through the differences which she said. So we need to understand that divinity is a fruit, and for that the spirituality is a seed. So understanding the knowledge, the seed, understanding what my true nature is, and trying to work on that will help me inculcate divinity. And Didi said, as we get deeper into the practice of this spiritual knowledge, particularly here at the Brahma Kumaris, we churn on the points which we hear in the morning class, what we call as Murli. So once you start churning on them, the hidden divinity inside starts emerging. Spiritual knowledge makes us divine, And through this, we can become deities. So that is the process. I can become divine by churning and rather inculcating that knowledge into my practice, into my being. Didi said that deities are divine, but they are not knowledgeful. So this is very important to understand. You all saw the pictures, and let me tell you, those pictures were a bit, what should I say? They took you all in that mode. You all were looking at only Jesus Christ, Buddha, and Lakshmi Narayan. We wanted you all to have your own images. So it was sort of a little bit leading, but that's okay. So looking at those deities, they are all divine, but they are not knowledgeful. Because there's a catch here. If someone wants to ask and debate on this, that, oh, deities are perfect divine beings, how can they not be knowledgeful or knowledgeable? So when we are saying knowledge here, the knowledge here is about the three aspects of time, particularly the past, present, and future. Well, I won't go in those details here, but you all can keep churning on that, that if you know tomorrow you're going to fall, or tomorrow you're going to have an accident, or tomorrow you will be more vicious than today, then you will not really enjoy your present moment, right? So it is something like that, that deities, they are divine, they are aware of their own divinity, but they are not aware of the three aspects of the time, that in future what is going to happen, which we in this confluence age are aware of. Spirituality makes us happy, because happiness is experienced when we get something that was not there before. Whereas the difference is deities don't experience happiness because that is their natural stage. And Didi said about being blissful. And if I can add the word here, that Ichha Matram Avidya, it's again a Sanskrit or Hindi word. Ichha means some desires. And I have total ignorance about what a desire is as a deity. So it's something, my natural state is always full and perfect, complete and perfect. So let's go to the next one. For spirituality, we need to make efforts. And as I remember, Vijay Pal Bhai was saying that we need to make purusharth, which is again a Hindi word. We need to make effort. But divinity is basically the deity form which we will be having. That is what we call pralabdha, again in Hindi, which is a fruit of what effort we are doing now. It is sort of a fruit of that. While we are practicing spirituality, there is an understanding of what vices are, the five vices. Kam, Krodh, Lobh, etc. In English, we call them the algae: anger, lust, greed, ego, and attachment. Whereas in divinity, when you are divine, there is no knowledge of vices, because there are no vices in that age where deities are. That is the golden age and the silver age. In spirituality, we need to make an effort to become detached. This value was spoken about in your sharings today. And again, you all were speaking about a lot of understanding. So understanding the knowledge also helps us to get a taste of divinity. But you're not divine, you're just knowing what is divinity. Whereas deities who are already divine, they are in a natural state of detachment, which means they are so much in their consciousness that they are not this body. They are fully detached from the body because they know their true inner nature, the true being they are. And therefore, when you look at their faces, they are so innocent like a child. It's a natural state they have. And then Didi, again, at the end, she tried to connect both spirituality and divinity, saying that spirituality is the bedrock of divinity. You can't become divine unless you are spiritual, which means unless you become knowledgeful, and what we call at Brahma Kumari is a Brahmin. A Brahmin means it signifies the person who's understanding knowledge and inculcating. So unless you become a Brahmin in that sense, you can't become a deity. And though as a Brahmin soul, though my soul is getting pure, for example, but I am still in the body, which is a Kalyugi, an Iron Age body. Whereas a deity has both, which are pure. The soul is pure 100%, and the body as well, the elements the body is made up of is also pure. Didi mentioned that the first thing which we need to inculcate in ourselves to dive into this divinity is introversion. We have covered that value in detail in the past. And what is introversion? It is not about being secluded from the outside world. It's not the exact opposite of extrovert or extroversion, but it is being connected to my inner self. And there are two words, introversion and introspection. So both go hand in hand. So let me try to look at my inner version, what I am, introduce myself to that inner version, and also try to inspect, which means try to see what faults still I am having. That's the reason in the action planning, many of you came out with that I will not be arguing with the person. So arguing, going in debate, all that is a highly negative behavior. And it is a vicious behavior actually, because it obviously tends to get heated, the argument, and then anger starts coming in. So I need to realize, I need to constantly inspect myself, and that is called introspection, that what are those vices which I need to give up. And Didi said, divinity is giving attention to the inner being and also no connection with the outside world. Now, again, don't take it in a wrong way. Didi mentioned no deep connection. You are obviously living in the world. You will be doing things, but there is no deep connection with them. You're not attached at all with what you're doing, but you're constantly attached to your inner being. That's important to understand. And Didi said, as we grow spiritually, a feeling of detachment comes automatically, which gives way to divinity. A few questions. These questions were quite enlightening, actually. So someone asked that in the time of calamities, because this is very common in the Hindu culture in India, that whom should we invoke when there are a lot of obstacles? Is it that Vignaharta, Ganesh? When we need to invoke courage, is it Hanuman? Or when we need to invoke the powers within, is it all those 9 Durgas, which we call during the Navratri festival? So Didi said, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to invoke. Sorry for that spelling mistake. It's not evoke, it's invoke. So Didi said, no, you don't have to do. You have to invoke the divinity within. And that can happen by being in meditation, your connection. And then she showed us this graph, which is, you're first a human being. Beautifully, I think Khyati Behan shared this, that we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. So we are being transferred. Our category is going up and up as we become a Brahmin from a human, and then we become an angel and finally a deity. And Didi mentioned here a beautiful word called pavanta. So let me tell you, there are 2 words in Hindi for purity. Purity is an English word. In Hindi, pavitrata and pavanta. So we say patit pavan as well. So it's like the Supreme Being helps us to become pure. But pavan means it's an addition. Purity plus divinity. So when I have both in myself, I'm pure and I'm divine, then that is called pavan. So that's what she mentioned. We hear this saying common, that to err is human and to forgive is divine. So does this forgiveness value come in the arena of divinity? Today you all mentioned in the divine behaviors activity as well, a few of y'all. So Didi said, yes, anyone can make mistakes, but to forgive is definitely a divine behavior. And obviously you don't need to keep anything in the heart. When we say divinity, the word invoke automatically comes with that. Whereas with other values, we don't say we are invoking positivity, we are invoking, etc., etc. So Didi said that divinity is basically a holistic thing of all the virtues. It is emerging from your perfect form. So it's truly holistic. And divinity will be there when all the virtues, the divine virtues which are there. At Brahma Kumaris, we are taught about the deities that they are 36 gun, 36. But Didi said, don't worry, there are many. Don't just get stuck with 36 number. Then someone said that, sorry, it's not someone, it was about a saying which I asked. Meditation is seeing the divinity in self, whereas love is seeing the divinity in the other person, and wisdom is seeing the divinity everywhere. So Didi, could you please elaborate? So Didi mentioned that practically you'll ask yourself, can you see divinity everywhere outside, particularly in this iron age? The answer usually will be no. So we can only see when we are silent, stable, connected to our inner core. So in meditation, I can see that. As I am, so will I see the other person. So that's what Didi had to say about this proverb, that when I am a divine person myself and I give practical experience of that through my divine behaviors, through the activity which you all did, then obviously everywhere divinity can exude from my vibrations. And yes, another question was, I'll take this as the last one maybe, that are Buddha, Christ, and Ibrahim, the religious fathers which we call, in the category of being divine? So Didi said, yes, they are called divine fathers because they are establishing a new religion. And no one can establish a new religion unless he or she is in the perfect divine form. Sorry, not the diving form, the divine form. So I'll just stop sharing with this. And we already have Sister Radha with us. So thank you so much. Welcome once again. And she's joining us with us today from Gyan Sarovar. So before I give to you, I'll just again introduce Radha sister. I met her while I was in Rome, pre-COVID 2019. And I must say, I asked her for the bio data, such a humble soul, just a few lines. And I just have to say that because there's nothing much she sent to me. But she is a meditation teacher based in Rome. And she was introduced to Raj Yoga in childhood in India, where she grew up. She deepened her practice in the UK and subsequently in Italy, where she currently coordinates the activities of the BK Center there. And she also is a working professional, unlike in India, where the surrendered sisters usually don't work, but she's still working at a Rome-based UN agency, United Nations agency. Let me just again say a few lines for her. So today we have with us Sister Radha, who serves the city of Rome. But today she joins from Madhuban, which is indeed everyone's home, right? Her talks provide solace to wandering minds which have got used to Rome. R-O-A-M, that Rome, the minds are wandering. And her personality transforms all as if moving from hard rock towards soft foam. Everyone likes the soft foam, right? She stands strong with spirituality as her mighty dome and adds color to the soul's existing inner chrome. Divinity exists in her core like the DNA of a genome that makes her stage so stable as if being seated on a throne. And lastly, she's indeed so light, you'll experience that when she starts speaking, as if in the stage of always being flown, she's in the flying stage, and through her virtuous behavior, radiates the divine cologne. So with this, thank you so much for your presence, and we are really eager to listen to your sharings. The stage is all yours. Thanks.
Om Shanti, and thank you very much, Manoj Bhai, for this very beautiful poetry and expression of your love and really of your enthusiasm for these wonderful programs. I was listening to some of just in the middle really of the workshop, and it's really very inspiring to see how everyone is together, studying together, going deeper, really with this deep interest to bring this into our everyday lives and therefore bring about transformation in our families, in ourselves, in our families, and in the world. And so really congratulations to everyone for the work already done, really. So this subject of divinity, when I first received this topic, I thought, well, I haven't really actually gone into the details of what is divyata, divinity, because this word comes up more in Hindi. It doesn't come up that much in English as a virtue. We often talk about divyata in Hindi. So it's really a question, actually, that is this virtue just for the gods? No. Or is this also something that we as human beings can also work towards? No. that it's very easy to, or maybe it's more common that we think about, yes, I'm working on tolerance, I'm working on patience, such qualities, but to say I'm working on divinity, is quite unusual, really. And so usually we don't think about this virtue as being something humanly possible. And so it's quite incredible and interesting to think, well, why would we be talking about it if it's not humanly possible? Surely this virtue, this word actually comes up within our spiritual study quite a lot. Whether we talk about divine virtues, we talk about divine intellect, divine family, divine vision. And so we have vision, we have family, we have intellect, we have virtues. But what is it that makes them divine? Why do we add that word divine before these aspects? Family, vision, intellect, virtues. So actually, it's interesting also to think about that if you were surrounded by divine family, divinity, what would it be like for you, for each one of us, to be surrounded by what is our idea of divinity? What would it feel like? What would be the experience of everyday life? And it's interesting to think about, because in fact, the reality is, through the spiritual study, that is exactly what we're aiming to create. And so I think that a lot of the things that have come up in your workshop and the ideas and the determined thought for your practice, I think there's a lot of very, very powerful and very useful aspects in there. And so maybe some of the things that I will be sharing might be shall we say, a repetition or an emphasis on what has already come up. So, but these are some thoughts that came to me and that I find interesting. And so, I, as Manoj Bhai said, I'm in Mount Abu in Madhuban. And one of the things that I really love to notice is the dawn, So especially being in Gyan Sarovar, it's something that is very attractive, the sunrise is around 7:10, 7:15, something like that. However, the first light comes at least 45 minutes before that. And I've noticed that when that first light comes, it has a very magical element to it. And before that light appears, there's darkness. If you didn't know the time, if you had, you didn't have a clock or even a body clock, you wouldn't know that the first light was going to come, because there's darkness all around. So why would there be light? And why I'm saying this, why I'm telling you this, is because sometimes, thinking of divinity can feel quite distant and quite removed from today's world. Because where is the divinity in today's world? We might use the word, we might think about it, but actually every day, it's what we if we don't create it, it's not there. And so therefore, the first thing is to know that that light, even just the thought, the word, and the action that is based on divinity is like the very first light of the dawn, maybe even before it's come. And when there's just a little bit of light, it takes some time before the day breaks, before the sun rises. And so it takes some time to actually re-emerge all the characteristics of our original divinity. And so I really like this image of, yes, the first light of the dawn, but it's announcing the day, actually. And the day has been through the night. The day has passed through. So when you reach the day, you have passed through the night. And so this understanding that no matter how extreme, shall we say, whatever's the opposite of divinity, whether it's violence or what sometimes, we say devilish or evil or very negative experiences and behavior, which is like the night, the ignorance, that is going to be transformed into something so completely opposite. And just the realization, actually, we need to realize the depth of darkness before we can appreciate the brilliance of the day. And so whether that's recognizing what's happening all around us, or recognizing what actually also goes on within, that we as spiritual beings have been through and hopefully are at the tail end of the very dark night. And the dark night of sorrow, of causing sorrow, of taking suffering, etc., etc. And so to recognize that and to acknowledge that we have come through that, and we are moving towards the brilliance of the day. And the brilliance of the day is a symbol of divinity, of our natural divinity. So as we know, there is this saying that God made us in his own image. This is something that probably we've all heard of. And as we call God a divine being, there's no doubt about that, right? So there might be a doubt about whether we are divine beings, but there's no doubt that God is a divine being. And so if we are created in God's image, it means that we naturally have the characteristics of divinity embedded within us, innately within us. And so it's like this first awareness really comes back to this question of who am I? That I am that being who is, yes, the child of the divine, and therefore I am the being who carries the natural qualities, or who naturally carries the qualities, the characteristics of divinity. So as Asha Didi had mentioned in her talk, and in fact, as we saw, the whole thing was really the connection between spirituality and divinity. So of course, what we need is the practice of spirituality. So spirituality is like the journey, and divinity is like the destination. But we need to be able to see the destination. We need to have that clear in our minds and in our hearts and in our experiences. We need to have a taste of what it really is to be a divine being. So we need to have seen our own complete form, our own divine form, really. Because maybe we're quite familiar with that form of, the human form, or maybe even sometimes less than human form, or more than human in the egoistic sense. But we need to have that, sometimes we call it our aim. So to have that clear for us, that this is who I am, this is who I was, and this is who I will be. This very beautiful saying of hum so hum. As I was, so I will be. And so to make that firm within the self, that this is who I am, because I am the child of the divine being. And so therefore, the practice of spirituality is what will take us to our destination. And so therefore, the characteristics of divinity sound like the destination, sound like the top, where you reach your goal. And so if you think, well, that's my aim, sometimes it can feel like a little bit too much. And that's why we have the practice of spirituality, which breaks things down a little bit, and says, okay, there's this step, then this step, then this step, and then you reach the characteristic of divinity. So I wanted to share with you 3 specific characteristics, which I think you have probably come out in your workshop already, but anyway, I will share them. And so the first one is equanimity. So to be able to have that absolute ability to be the same inside, in praise, in defamation, in hot and cold, in abundance and in scarcity, in praise and criticism, to neither be impressed nor unimpressed by anything. And this condition of equanimity is not one where we don't feel anything. So remembering that when we reach the day, we've been through the night. So the condition of equanimity is where we know both conditions, we know both extremes, but we're still not disturbed by them. And in order to reach that, of course, we need to practice, and we need to notice how close or how far we are from this condition or this characteristic of equanimity. When they say that the coolness, the coolness of the yogi is in fact that complete balance. And then the other one, the other characteristics is the constants. And someone, I think, talked about stability. So the ability to be constant in our practice, constant in our state of consciousness. So constant in our vision. For example, one of the characteristics that I loved and admired in Dadi Janki was really her ability to have that constant vision of hope and enthusiasm in each person. And there was never a time when I experienced it. I never heard anyone say, well, this person, forget them, there's no write them off, for example. So she had constance in her vision of upliftment for each one. And so the question for the self is, in which area of my life can I would benefit from having constance? So is it in my practice of meditation? Is it in the job that I'm doing? Is it in the quality of interaction that I have with people? Is it in a certain habit, a good habit, a positive habit that I would like to develop? Is there constance in the sense of like a determination in my thinking? Maybe the constance in seeing things in a deep way rather than just in a superficial way, for example. So the first one was equanimity, and then the second one is constance, and the third one is illuminated. So this is definitely a characteristic of divinity, where there is that light of power and the light of lightness. So there's not that sense of burden or heaviness or weight, even though there might be responsibility and there might be many tasks, many things to take care of, and yet the condition of being illuminated, of being light and enlightened. And so this is something that be interesting for each one to think, do you have examples of people whom you would consider divine in your life? And because it's important to have, sometimes it's important to have role models, and then of course we each do it in our own unique way. So it's not like we have to copy someone, but just as for children, it's so important to have role models, whether it's in the parents or teachers or other authority figures, role models of people who, embody behaviors and characteristics that will serve the child when they grow up. And so, of course, when I think of someone whom I see as light, as illuminated, I think of Dadi Prakashmani, actually, and many of you might have known her. She was one of the chiefs of the Brahma Kumaris for many years, and responsible for the vast expansion of the spiritual university. However, if people would often ask her, so how do you manage to stay so light even when you have so much responsibility? And she would say, well, I'm just a trustee and it's God's work and he gets it done. And so it was really an example, actually, to have seen with our own eyes, of someone who really was able to be in that condition of being illuminated. And so literally that sense of brightness around. And so just thinking about it, that when we're on a journey, on the spiritual journey, really, the aim is not to be spiritual. That's the practice. But the aim is to be divine. And so I was thinking that there are, I've chosen 3 specific aspects of how that divinity can be expressed. Because we need to know what to practice. If we're going towards divinity, then what do I have to practice, really, in order to become divine, in order to allow the divine to re-emerge within me, or as was mentioned earlier, to invoke the divine within. And so the first one is this thing that we call divine vision, which is not about having visions and sakshatkar and not in the sense of being having a flash and suddenly you see a divine being. No, but it's actually about how I see things. So we all have two eyes, and we see things that are close, we see things at a distance. Whatever we see with our physical eyes, we then interpret. However, the vision really is based on what is my consciousness. So where is my consciousness? Where does that go? When I see a person, when I see another human being, what's the first thing I notice in them? And it's interesting to check the self, to say, well, okay, as I'm walking around, like here in Madhuban, in Mount Abu, at the moment, there are maybe 400, 500 people from all over the world. And of course, in the place where I'm staying, and then in other campuses, there are many, many more, or there will be many more. And so it's been, a good practice really to say, okay, whenever I see people, maybe I know them or I don't know them, what am I noticing? Yes, with my physical eyes, but what am I noticing with the eye of my consciousness, with my third eye, which is really the one that has the divine vision. So we can't see anything on a physical level with our third eye, but that is like our consciousness, the seat of our consciousness. Where am I positioned when I meet someone, maybe with whom I've had an argument with, or who has done something unpleasant or upsetting? When I see someone or something, that when I go to a place, maybe where I've had a bad experience, what is my attitude towards that? Which will then filter into my vision. And so what we call the practice of soul conscious vision is like the practice, of divine vision, where before I can be able to see others as spiritual beings, I first need to see myself as a spiritual being. You can try it out. You can try as much as you like to see other people as souls. But if you are not aware of yourself first as a soul, you will get distracted by the color of their skin, how they've done their hair, what they're wearing, how tall or fat or thin they are, or how they've changed from the last time you saw them, And so it's very easy to get distracted. And that's why it's a practice. When you keep having the opportunity to practice, it's a good thing, So that's where we become, practice makes perfect. And so it's a good question to ask the self, that what do I notice when I meet people, when I first start a task? What do I notice? What do I observe? And so this practice of divine vision, of having divine vision, is something that's very, very important. And then the second thing is what we call the divine intellect. So when we come onto this particular spiritual path, which is what I'm familiar with, one of the things that that is recommended that we practice is what we call purity in our relationships, purity in our interactions. So that, yes, there is this vision of brotherhood, that I as a soul am, a child of God. And so therefore each other being is also a child of God, and therefore my brother or sister. So to have that vision. But as we, in a sense, we start off on this spiritual path, it's as if we receive a gift, from the Supreme as our teacher. And that gift is what he calls as the divine intellect, which is like the ability to understand the spiritual knowledge. Because in order to understand, in order to hold the spiritual knowledge within our intellect, within our mind, even within our memory, it's not just that easy. We might have it all available, all on the internet, all on our telephones. We might have 100 classes and listen to them, but to actually hold it, to be able to carry it, even just to be able to remember it, can sometimes take a lot of work, right? Can it take a lot of attention? And so we receive this gift of the divine intellect, which is the ability to discern, the ability to see that which is not visible with these physical eyes. And I'm not talking about esoteric things, I'm talking about spiritual understandings and spiritual wisdom. So we're able to see into the depth of something and understand it and be able to interpret it in such a way that we can see the relevance of it in our lives. We can see, how can I put that into practice? How is that idea, that concept of spiritual knowledge actually useful to me? So, in my experience, as a child, I had the fortune of growing up with this spiritual knowledge all around me, And when I was about 13, my father passed away. And I remember in that moment, I was studying away from my home. I was in another school, residential school. And when I came home and I saw my mother, and I saw how she had already been practicing this for about 10 years before that. And I saw how she was so strong and so stable. And she looked like a goddess to me, actually, at that time. And I'd never seen her like that. And then I saw the body, and I said, this is not my father. My father has gone, and I couldn't even go close to the body because it was so clear to me that the soul had left the body. And it was the soul that played the part of my father when he was in that body. And so, of course, after that, you realize what's going on. And then all the, after a long time, then the emotions come up and you have to deal with that. But it was very, very useful and very powerful to be able to have received that knowledge, that spiritual knowledge already before that moment, to be able to have applied that in that moment and understood what was going on. And so that, is maybe a rather extreme and unfortunate, should we say, incident to have shared. But basically, this practice of using the spiritual knowledge through our intellect is what will then eventually make our intellect actually divine. And so the gift that we receive from the Supreme, from the divine being, is like, it's like a tool, like an instrument that we need to learn how to use. So you might have a wonderful telephone, but if you don't know how to use it, you really can't, it's even more frustrating. So you have to learn how to use it. And so we need patience. We need to be able to take the time. We need to be able to study in depth, learn. And this is what came up here recently as well, that we need to be our own teacher. And so to use this gift that we've received of the divine intellect, which comes when you are on the spiritual path. And then the last thing that, regarding the expression of divinity. So the first way that we can express our divinity or practice it really is through our vision. So through having our divine vision, bringing divinity within our vision. The second is to learn how to use our intellect in a divine way. So to use our divine intellect. And then the third one is the divine vibrations. So this is something, is that when one is in the consciousness of the true self, when I'm aware that I am a child of God, and even though there might be difficult situations around me, even though there might be turbulence inside, the truth is that I am the child of the divine. That is the bottom line. So there's nothing that will change that. So even if everything shakes up all around, I can come back to that truth. And that is the stability. So when I'm in that consciousness of my true self, then very naturally the vibrations that radiate from the self will be divine. They can't be anything else. And so this is an expression, the expression of divinity through our being. When we are connected in yoga with the Supreme, and that connection, so it's like you plug in, to the socket and you switch on, and what happens is that there's the flow of the current, and that current will then illuminate or will, make the kettle boil or do whatever it's supposed to do. And so in the same way that when we plug in to the Supreme and we have switched on, so you have to remember to switch on the consciousness, then the energy will flow into us and will naturally radiate. And so I think it's probably the experience of many people who are on this spiritual path, is that people whom you work with, or people whom, it maybe takes a little bit longer for people whom you live with, because they see all the things behind the curtains, but maybe people whom you interact with will notice the vibrations. And maybe people whom you live with will notice the change in you. And so the divine vibrations are something that naturally radiate from us when we are in that consciousness, when we are connected in yoga with the Supreme. And so we can practice this in order to make our life more naturally blissful. And so then, of course, there is the question, so what comes in the way of the expression of this divinity? Why if it's something so natural, if we've been created in that way, then why can't we just do it? Why is the world, what comes in the way of that? Even on the spiritual path, there is a lot of resistance, right? If it was all easy, then we would all be peaceful, loving, happy, divine beings all the time, and we probably wouldn't have to have these workshops. So what is it that comes in the way? And this is a question that each one of us can ask ourselves, really. What is it that comes, that becomes like a filter or a wall between me and my ability to express the divinity that's within, whether it's through vibrations, through the divine vision or the divine intellect. And so I've identified a few things, and you can identify your own as well. But one of them is the doubts in the self, the thoughts that bring the self-respect down, the thoughts that, or the consciousness that makes me distant from the awareness that I am the child of the divine. So what are those thoughts? That is what I have to identify. That is what I have to notice. Because as soon as you notice something, it's like even a physical, but a spiritual law. Once you notice it, it doesn't have the same control over you. And so half the battle is won there. So just notice, what are those thoughts that are making you doubt yourself? And to not give them energy, to come back to that one basic truth. I am the child of the divine. And therefore, divinity is my natural nature. So that's one thing, is to notice what are the doubts and to make sure that I re-stabilize myself in my self-respect. Probably we've all had experiences, where people have criticized us or told us nasty things that make us say, well, if we give importance to public opinion and what other people say, we might think, well, maybe I am like that, and we maybe believe them, even though we know better. And so to notice, what am I believing? Sometimes if we get shaken up by something that someone says, it's because I actually believe what they're saying. And so we need to be careful about that those things then work as doubts over us and take control really over our thinking. And that's what weakens us. So then we come back. And so that will happen. That's the reality, because that's the practice. So then the second thing is basically the mistaken understanding of ourselves. And this mistaken understanding is actually quite deep, and it's very much connected with, of course, our upbringing, our conditioning, the deep beliefs that we have about ourselves. So this can be, shall we say, come in the way of our expression and our practice of divinity. Because we might think, well, I'm no good, there's something wrong in everything that I do. Or we might go the opposite way and say, well, there's no one better than me, so I don't need to make any effort. And so to notice the mistaken understanding of the self. Often what I've noticed is that often within interactions, we are asserting our identity in one way or another. We may, if something is important, if it's important, where do I come from? I remember when I first left India when I was about 18 years old, and I first came back to India, everyone started to see me as a foreigner. No, and I'd lived 18 years of my life in India. And it was a complete shock to me because I felt, well, but India is my home. I'm from India. Why are you seeing me as a foreigner? and that was a very strong lesson for me to say, well, you know what? You're neither Indian, nor are you a foreigner. You are a spiritual divine being. And it really doesn't matter if someone sees you like this or like that. No. And so now I'm happy, however anyone sees me, it really doesn't matter. But what I've noticed is that in one form or another, whatever is important to us, we assert our identity. You know, whether it's in our job or even in our qualities, in what we've done, what we've achieved. And sometimes we try to kind of tell people about that, you know, in one form or another. Yes, I did that. Yes, I know that as well. And so it's useful to observe the self and say, what identity am I asserting? Am I emphasizing? You know? And then therefore to come back. So to not let that be an obstacle, to not let a mistaken identity be an obstacle in the expression of our divinity. And so just really to conclude, because I think we're going to have a meditation as well, is to say, well, what further practice, and maybe I'll just share one or two things that are helping me to maintain the practice, the spiritual practice, with the aim of returning to that divine condition. And so the first thing really is to get close to God, you know, because we're colored by our company. And so the more time and energy and companionship we have with the divine, of course, the more that's going to, you know, rub off on us, and our own divinity will wake up. And so to let God be my mother, to let God be my father, my teacher, my friend, my companion, my guide, you know, just to let God wake me up, let God, you know, walk with me, talk with me, eat with me, you know, and so to enjoy the company of the divine, and to really notice, what does it feel like to be in the company of the divine as I'm living my human life? You know, this is the only time that we can actually experience that. When we actually become divine beings, then God goes home, his job is done, and we enjoy being divine beings, you know, without remembering anything. So that's one thing. And the other thing is to really have the balance between being kind and being determined with ourselves. So things will come up, there will be turbulence, there will be moments of confusion and chaos within, externally, but to find the time to write, to sit with the self, to take care of the self, to connect with people with whom you trust, and to have conversations that are interesting and will deepen your spiritual understanding, to be open to learn, you know, and I think this is definitely a characteristic of everyone present here, you know. So just really wanted to conclude with that, and maybe with one little story about one thing I noticed with Dadi Janki is, the other day we were watching a recording actually in which she came up just for a moment and she was accepting something from, you know, another person, and just the way she accepted it, it was as if her state of mind was completely transparent. The love, the grace, the deep sense of bhavna, that loving feeling was completely clear on her face and in how she accepted it, you know. And so it's not, we don't have to do big things to be divine, but it's in little things that that energy of divinity will radiate, it will emanate. So I'm going to stop here, and I hope that's the right time. Manoj Bhai, you can tell me. And so
Sure, it's absolutely, everything is perfect and divine, no problems. So we'll just take one question in the interest of time. The sister is asking, I'm a Christian by faith. She's a Christian. And whenever you all speak about divinity at Brahma Kumaris, it's all the deities which are shown, which takes us towards the Hindu religion very commonly. Like all these are Hindus sort of thought that way. So I'm not able to, she's saying, I'm not able to relate. I'm a Christian. Can I really become divine? So is it possible that divinity is Hinduism or something?
well, I mean, my understanding is that no matter which religion someone belongs to, but as a spiritual being, as a child of God, that divinity is there. And it's just a question of finding the way to actually live it and bring it out into our everyday life. Now, for some people, the symbolism are Lakshmi and Narayan are the deities. But of course, that's not that for everyone. You know, it can't be. And because it is something that, you know, it needs to be something that is meaningful for you. And so that's why I was talking about role models, you know. So even when we think about Lakshmi and Narayan, it's still an image, really. And those who see that image give meaning to it, and therefore that has a significance for them. But if you don't give meaning to it, even if maybe you come from a Hindu background, it won't have any significance, you know. And so I think the important thing, whatever religion you come from, is to find what is your role model for divinity, what embodies divinity for you. There are many people, many Brahma Kumaris, Kumars and Kumaris outside India who do not very easily relate to Lakshmi and Narayan. You know? And so for them, it's better actually to say, well, what is divinity? What form would that take? You know? And so each one needs to find that for themselves. So absolutely, it's possible for everyone.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Beautiful answer. Very apt. So I would now request Dr. Ashok Mehta. Our seniors are there with us, and Sister Claudia. So both of you can propose a vote of thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Radha Ben. We enjoyed your, I would say, a different way of putting divinity. I think you're exuberant in your divinity, even by watching you, not only at the physical level, but at the level at which you're speaking through the heart to all of us. Whatever you have said, everything has a lot of significance, a lot of meaning in our own lives. And what you have done is you have expressed it very vividly. As a matter of fact, when you talked about your personal life, your pronunciations are like Indians. You said you lived in India for a long time, and therefore I think whatever you have said is more Indian than what you live in Europe now. But I think you look you sound more Indian than Indian itself. Thank you very much for bringing in a lot of different way of putting the things about divinity and spirituality. I think we are all in the same mode, looking at divinity in a different way and expressing in a different way in our own life. And we've really enjoyed your thoughts. Thank you very much. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, sister, it's very nice to see you, actually for the first time. And I quite like when you spoke about the characteristics of divinity. And that is quite a very nice deep points for us to see. And also the how to practice to become divine. I myself, I am from the Christian religion. And I like also to say that in Christianity, we can see many models too that we can see and practice, like the Virgin Mary, the one that also the one who helps all of them. So different ways of divinity. So we can see as a model too. And so it doesn't matter if we come from a Christian or Hindu background, like you said, we all can see our divinity in some way or the other one and see our points. I myself, I see sometimes what the devotees look for this divine being. Then I check to see if I have those virtues or not. So we can do this kind of workout with us, even if it's not Lakshmi Narayan, but we still always can find. Thank you very much. You explained very nicely. Thank you.
Thank you, both of you. And before I pass on to the meditation to Sister Radha, I'll just share the screen and make the announcements. So as we move from divinity to truthfulness, all of us at BKs are very fond of this month of February. I'm sure you know why, because the Mahashivratri is just around the corner in the next week. So we move our focus now to truthfulness, which is in Hindi, we call it Sachai Safai. So let's come to India, because, you know, even Shiva, we say the incorporeal Shiva likes the land of Bharat, India. So we have a very new speakers, and all of you all wanted in the format of a dialogue or a conversation as a spiritual chit chat. So we have our very two senior sisters, Shushma Didi, who is the Jaipur Museum Subzone in charge. She's also one of the managing committee members at BKs. And along with her, her very close friend and close contact, Sister Chandrakala, who is also the director of the Raj Yoga Retreat Center there in Jaipur. So they will be guiding and telling us a lot about what is this value of truthfulness. So it will be the next Saturday, as always, same time, 8:30 p.m. India time. And following that, the workshop we have with us, our very dear brother, Dr. Sachin Parab. I think many people in India know him. He's the Joint Secretary of the Medical Wing of our Raj Yoga Education and Research Foundation. Incidentally, it's a divine coincidence, I must say. His name is Sachin. Sach means truth. And there you go. So he's speaking all about the inside truth, which he'll tell us after 2 weeks from now. And as always, at the end of the month, we have a silence retreat on the same value, truthfulness. That's on Sunday. So please keep your time free. It will be morning times for India and late evenings for West Coast. And this is an elegant calendar, always thanks to Sister Kosha, who makes it for us. And we always send it, even our WhatsApp group has this as a display picture to let you know our programs which are coming. These are our websites, the Vancouver being vancouver.brahmakumaris.ca and the Vihasa is vihasa.in. You can please feel free to send all your feedbacks, comments, suggestions on our emails. And yeah, many people keep asking for recordings. So they are very well recorded. The workshops can be found on omshanti.tk/workshops. And the episodes by the senior Rajyogis are on omshanti.tk/playlist and /English. So with this, I'll just stop sharing the screen. And I think Anu sister, if you can just quickly, because people ask for the photograph, and then we'll go in the meditation mode.
Yeah, definitely. We'll love to have the photograph and have this memory of having Sister Radha. It was really beautiful, Sister Radha, to experience the simplicity, beauty of divinity through being you naturally. So everyone, whoever like to be in the photograph, please switch on your video. I'll just take one more. I got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So over to Sister Radha for the meditation. I'll play some soft music in the background as well. That's okay.
So we do the meditation for, tell me how long again, please?
So next 5 to 7 minutes is okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so finding that comfortable position, taking a deep breath, just adjusting the body first of all. And then also finding the position inside. We've heard many things, thinking about many, many aspects. And now, let all of those ideas settle within the mind. It's as if the screen of my mind becomes clear. All the writing, all the images, move to a different place. And my mind is calm and clear. I feel settled inside. And the natural energy of peace rises up into my consciousness. And I generate one powerful thought. I am a child of the divine. This is who I am. This is who I was. And this is who I will be through eternity. My journey may take me through many different terrain and scenes. But I always come back to this one stable, constant awareness. And this one thought, I am a child of the divine, naturally connects me to that being. And I find myself in the sweet, powerful company of the most beautiful divine being. And the vibrations that radiate and surround me activate my natural, original divinity. It is this energy that will flow into my actions and interactions. It will flow through my vision, into my decisions, my every step, and every movement. I feel the gratitude. And I want to return and be in the company of the divine as often as I can. So once again, I take a deep breath. And very gently, I guide my attention to how my body feels, how I am feeling, and then to my physical surroundings. Om Shanti.
Thank you so much once again, Sister Radha. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you.